gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses are getting rarer, farmers are coming into town in their Fords. Everybody locks their doors at night. There ain't been any burglars in town yet, but everybody's heard of them. You'd be surprised, though. On the whole, not much changes around here. This is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop, a windy hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, often lots of sun and moon and stars. You come up here on a fine afternoon and see range on range of hills. Awful blue they are. Up there is Lake Sunapee and Lake Winnipesaukee, and way up, if you've got a glass, you can see Mount Washington and the White Mountains, where North Conway and Conway is. And of course, our favorite mountain, Mount Monadnock, and all the neighboring cities, Jaffrey and East Jaffrey and Peterborough and Dublin. And way back there is Grover's Corners. Yes, beautiful spot up here. Mountain laurel and lilacs. I often wonder why people like to be buried in Woodland and Brooklyn when they could spend the same time up here in New Hampshire. Over there's the Old Stones, 1670, 1680. Strong-minded people who came a long way to be independent. Summer people come along laughing at the funny words on the tombstones that don't do any harm. And genealogists come up from Boston, paid by city people to make sure they're daughters of the American Revolution and of the Mayflower. Well, I guess that don't do any harm either. Wherever you come near the human race, there's layers and layers of nonsense. Over there, Civil War veterans, iron flags on their graves, New Hampshire boys, had a notion the Union ought to be kept together, though they'd never seen more than 50 miles of it themselves. All they knew was the name, friends. The United States of America. The United States of America. And they went and died about it. This here is the new part of the cemetery. Here's your friend, Mrs. Gibbs, and Mr. Stimson, an organist at the Congregational Church. Oh, and Mrs. Soames, who loved the wedding so, you remember? Oh, and a lot of others. Here's Editor Webb's girl, Wendy, whose appendix burst on a Girl Scout trip to Crawford Notch. Yes, an awful lot of sorrow has sort of quieted down up here. People just wild with grief have brought their relatives up to this hill. We all know how it is. And then time, and sunny days, and rainy days, and snow. We're all glad they're in a beautiful spot up here, and we'll be coming up here ourselves when our fit's over. Now, there are some things we all know, but we don't take them out and look at them very often. We all know that something is eternal. And it ain't names, and it ain't homes, and it ain't earth, and it ain't even the stars. We all know in our bones that something is eternal. And that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people who ever lived have been telling us that for 5,000 years, but you'd be surprised how often people are losing hold of it. We all know deep down that there is something eternal about every human being. You know as well as I do that the dead don't stay interested in us living for very long. Gradually they lose hold of the earth and the ambitions they had, and the pleasures they had, and the things they suffered, and the people they loved. They get weaned away from it. That's how I put it, weaned away until the earth part of them burns out, burns away, and they slowly get indifferent to what's growing on in Grover's Corners. They're waiting. They're waiting for something that they think is coming, something great and something important. Aren't they waiting for the eternal part in them to come out clear? Now, some of the things they say maybe will hurt your feelings, but that's the way it is. Mother and daughter, husband and wife, enemy and enemy, money and miser, all those terribly important things kind of grow pale around here.